Welcome back to Ion Foxborough. I'm Karen Garigian. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Christian Fauria, a two-time Super Bowl champion and current co-host of WEEI's Gresh Fauria Midday Show. Hello,
You
Christian.
got that right. You got the intro right. We're off to
Oh,
a good start.
you're right. I've botched a few, let me tell
Huh.
you. How's it going?
And I'm doing well. You ready? This is about to get started. Everybody's summer vacation is over.
I
Everybody's got to be,
know. Training camp kicks off in 2 days on Wednesday.
oh, I used to have so much dread and anxiety at this time of year for so long that I have this residual effect of
Still?
the anxiety. It's just there's this, the summer's over, your fun's over, your freedom is over. And I still kind of have those feelings. I have to keep smacking myself in the face saying, listen, you're not going to be handed a red little, pamphlet with a bunch of itineraries of when you're supposed to go to bed, when you're supposed to wake up, when you're supposed to eat. I mean, it is odd when you do it for a long period of time. That's all you know, and it's just stuck in your head. So, but no, I won't be there with them. No, won't do it.
It's funny. You were kind enough to have me on your show last week, and
Yeah, it was great. Thank
I
you.
I always get a kick out of when, athletes I used to cover ask me questions, like a role reversal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but that was fun. But now order has restored, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I get to
Yeah.
ask questions. Um, so as the Patriots embark on this training camp with a new head coach, it's not Bill Belichick's camp anymore, and possibly a new quarterback. Well, there will be, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. Map out a couple of best and worst case scenarios for this team going forward.
Going forward, long term.
Well, for the season,
Oh,
or
for the season. Okay, for
yeah,
the
for the
season,
season.
best case is, well, I mean, that you realize that Drake May uh, can be your quarterback. I think best case. I don't think they're making the playoffs, so I'm not going to go all, crazy, exaggerated opinion. I think best case is that when Drake May does play, whether it's early, whether it's late, there's enough games under his belt where you go, wow, okay, I see it. He's tough, he's accurate, he's not an error repeater, he learns from his mistakes, guys like him, really like him, I would say that would be the best case scenario. Um, and that's from the playing side, right? The young receivers show a lot of grit, and there's all this bragging and boasting. It's like a new young core of receivers. You realize Jerod Mayo is a good game manager. I think that's important. I mean, there's obviously there's the, building relationships, and they got to know the why, all that stuff. But he's also got to be able to call a game. He's got to be able to manage his assistant coaches that he hired, and there's a lot of them. And then he can't get caught with his pants down when he plays against another coach that has a lot of experience and puts him in terrible positions, and he makes the wrong choice. I think that would be the best case scenario.
Mm,
And the opposite is just literally the opposite of what I said.
yep.
You realize, that Jerod Mayo is good at taking down silos, but he can't manage a game. He is underwater. He doesn't really. There's too much time. He can't get what he wants done. He looks like he can't coach. He can't manage the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Everything I just said, just the opposite.
Mm. As a former player, how important, forgetting wins and losses, how important is like the element of progress? At least that they look and they seem to be more cohesive. They're in games, they're competitive, and it does look like they're building towards something. Is that important from a player's perspective or just from the outside perspective?
I mean, it's like um it may seem like it's important, but there's just it's because you could do everything right and you could still lose. And you can say, hey, we're building something special, but you still 0-8. There's no moral victories, I guess is my point.
Mm,
People like to use that as like a brighter side. Let's look at the brighter side. And in the end, if you're a player, it makes for a long week. It makes for rough practices. Everybody's in a bad mood. And, if you're a young team, you can sit there and go, this is great. Look what we're doing. No, I think it puts more stress on people.
hmm.
I think the whole like moral victory thing is just it's all make believe. It's not to be all. It's like basically what losers do to make themselves feel better.
Well, I guess a better way to put it, I've seen rebuilding teams look like rebuilding teams at the start of the season. But when, the light bulb goes on and especially with a new coaching staff, they start to get the coaching, things start coming together. And say they, win 5 of their last 6 games and kind of build,
Sure. I'll give you an example. Sorry to
yeah.
cut you off.
Mm,
The Detroit Lions,
mm,
Dan Campbell. It was a 3-year process. First year, horrible, but he was putting his process in place. He was figuring out the guys that were his guys. Like that team has a true identity in the purest sense of the word. True identity. It mirrors their head coach, and by design, he wanted it to mirror the city and the blue collar work ethic that was his goal, and it worked. First year, nothing. Second year, holy cow, it's ugly again. And
mm.
then they run off and they win like I don't know, 6 of their last 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
End up knocking out. I don't know who they knocked out of the playoffs. And then the start of the season, everybody's looking at the last 6 weeks of the season before, like, wow, they just continued. They didn't drop off. That
Mm,
wasn't because some teams will get some lucky wins at the end of the year. They literally took those last 6 games of year 2 under Dan Campbell and parlayed that into who they are now. That was a
mm.
3-year process. 3-year process. I think realistically, that's what you're looking at. Like after the third year, because somebody asked me this, when will you know? Third
Mm,
year. If he
mm,
doesn't have it locked up, if he doesn't have it figured out, if his players that he drafted and the free agents that they sign, if they're not competing and forget about competing, they should be competing now. If they're not contending for a playoff spot, then I think that that you need to move on. But it's usually 3 years.
mm. Where do you fall on when to start Drake May? Where are you aligned in that conversation? I know there's some people who think, hey, he's a number 3 overall pick. Throw him out there, sink or swim. There's
Yeah.
others who think, you know, he needs to learn, observe, and get a little more of his bearings before throwing him out there. I mean, there's issues with the offensive line. There's issues with not having enough weapons. Where do you sit with Drake May?
Yeah, I've seen it done every single way. Sit, start, jump in late. I've seen it done, and I don't know if there's like a real hardcore evidence of which way is better.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just I think, hey, if he rolls in and you're like, wow, he is much better than we thought he was going to be. You still may be like, you know what? Let's let him watch a couple games from the sideline, because reality is like, what's the rush? So he, instead of playing, 17 games, he plays 10. Still a lot, and he will get just enough in 10 games as he would 16. But I think if they're probably going into it with the idea that Jacoby Brissett is the starter no matter what, unless Drake May is just so much obviously better and better equipped and just as smart. And I think they would just I would go into the idea like, let him prove me wrong. That would be my idea.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens in training camp, right?
Yeah, you may get him in great training camp,
Yeah.
and be like, oh, he ain't ready. Like you may know right away.
Hmm.
And the public shouldn't look at little, 20-second clips of him completing a pass as like, oh yeah, he's ready. The crazy thing about this, Karen, is like these guys don't know anything. They don't know a goddamn thing. That's the reality of it. They don't know about how they're going to be attacked. They don't know. They don't get it. They don't get it, and they won't get it because when a live game starts, they just play to your weaknesses. And if they don't know what your weaknesses are, I mean, believe me, they'll find one by the third quarter, and then they just set you up, and they're patient, and then they will make you look foolish, um, and that's something that I don't know if he's ready for.
Yeah. Well, not everyone has that quick processing and I'll handle anything you throw at me, Gene, like Tom Brady did. So, he's kind of seen it. But a lot of Brady came with time too, seeing what people threw at him, knowing how to react.
Yeah,
Uh,
he didn't. I mean,
reflecting.
listen, he didn't
Yeah.
start his first year. He didn't start his second year. I mean, you can look at Jordan Love, you can look at Patrick Mahomes, but then you can look at Andrew Luck, and then you can look at Peyton Manning, and then you can look at Derek and David Carr. I mean, there's just so many different scenarios. Like if Patrick Mahomes, if they didn't have Alex Smith in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes would have been fine. He would have been fine.
Yeah.
He would have took some lumps, but he would have been fine. He was advanced for his age.
Mm.
But some guys are not. Like with all the quarterbacks that were drafted this year, even go back to Mac Jones's year, all those guys, how many of them are worth anything?
Mm.
Trevor Lawrence, maybe. I mean, and at a good level, but not like holy cow, he's the second coming. All the rest are just almost washouts.
Yeah. True. True that. Over the weekend, I believe it was Pro Football Talk that put out a report that the Patriots had made an offer to San Francisco over second round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. My take is that that's a pretty good, I think that's a good offer, and they were willing to renegotiate and come up with I don't know, 28 million a year for him. How do you feel about that, and how dogged should their pursuit be of this player?
Well, I like the fact that when I saw it, I was like, okay, he's pursuing, and that's the going rate for a receiver of his caliber at his age. That's not people shouldn't look at $28 million. That shouldn't be sticker shock when
Yeah.
quarterbacks are making 50. I mean, and there's more receivers getting paid at that high level than ever before. That's just the way it is now. So the fact that they identified it and they're willing to pay it, I think is smart. They should be pursuing that stuff. And people will always say, "Well, do you think Bill would have done it?" Yeah, I do. I think people think Bill like was just like things just fell on his lap and he didn't try to make the team better. He wasn't actively pursuing deals. I mean, he wanted to fleece everybody, but he also was willing to pay for what he thought was valuable. He'd make that purchase. Elliot Wolf is going to be judged by every little move that he makes, or moves that he doesn't make, or moves that he gets outbid on, right? Because Aiyuk was probably going to be gone, and now just don't be reckless and stupid. That would, don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't chase it to the point of suffering from it. Is what I wouldn't do.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about, oh, it's going to take a first round pick. Well, the Patriots should not surrender that first round pick in
No,
my
it's going to be worth a lot to them. Imagine
right.
like giving that first round pick to the San Francisco 49ers. They go to the Super Bowl and
And
then
they're
they have
picking in
like
the
a
top
first,
10.
yeah,
Yeah.
they have a top 5 pick and they have like the last pick of the draft. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
That would be the wrong thing to do.
Mm. Well, I'm not sure that San Francisco is going to trade Ayuk, but I think they have their feelers out. He obviously wants to be traded, but San Francisco is trying to win a Super Bowl, and they've been this close, and he's an important piece
Yeah.
to
No,
them,
it's the 49ers, it's a good problem to have. Like, and you're right. I don't think they want to entertain like getting rid of Aiyuk unless he's literally just like holding his breath and stomping his feet and just being a real ass. That's then they would just be forced to kind of deal with it because then it just gets ugly.
Right. Hey, and if someone like the Patriots comes with a first round draft pick, I think they'd make that, I think they'd make that deal, but um, we'll see. Um, have you during your time been on a team that had so much coaching turnover? And does it take time for, I don't know, everyone to kind of get on the same page or, understand the new offense, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, most of the staffs that I've been on have all been staffs where the coaches have been together for a while, at least the majority of them, 75% of them. When I went to Seattle, Dennis Erickson took his entire University of Miami staff, and they all came. When Holmgren was the head coach, he took his Green Bay Packers staff. And when I came here to New England, that staff had already been here. And then I went to Washington, and Joe Gibbs had his whole staff back from the first go round. The same guys. They were all just, 15 years older. It was crazy. So this is different because you got a lot of different guys and everybody's kind of related and there's kind of like, especially offensively, and you got a nice mix of some some older coaches, but mostly relatively young guys. I know the offensive staff pretty well. Embry, the running backs coach. I mean, his dad was my coach at the University of Colorado. He coached my son at Colorado. I've known him since he was a baby. TJ McCartney is Bill McCartney's grandson. I mean, I've known him for a while. They got a young staff, and all these guys are trying to make their way. So that will be interesting. And of course, Van Pelt running the offense on his own for the first time.
Follow the plays, yeah.
And calling plays. It's just you realize like once you get the job, you realize like holy crap, like I'm responsible for a lot. There's a lot going on. Even like Mayo, I saw something with him when he did a podcast. With Devin McCourty did a podcast, and he told a story about how when he was talking to Mayo referenced like he didn't realize all the stuff that he has to do that isn't
All the extras, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and that's just the way it is. Like that's why Andy Reid, when he left Philly, he's just a coach in Kansas City. He just coaches football. I think he's past the point of like wanting to control everything. So it's just this year is going to be, it's going to be a lot. I just think it's going to be, but I also you have no idea what trends they're into, like what their personality is. There's no book of information. There's no book of information for you, Karen Garrigo. You know what? This is what Jerod's going to do. Because I remember, in 2007, this is what he did. Or he likes these types of cornerbacks. Or he's going to make this trade. We've seen it. Oh, he's going to trade out of the first round. He's going to trade into the first round. We have no idea. Nobody knows that. Nobody has a clue as to how this is going to go because and that's why I kind of am excited about it. It's completely unpredictable. It's fresh as can be with lots of new coaches and lots of new players.
Will that unpredictability also translate for opposing teams? Trying, with like no film of, I mean, they have film of what Alex Van Pelt has done with Cleveland, but, does he change things up here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or how Jerod's going to run the defense.
Yeah.
Is that mystery? Will that help them for a little bit?
I mean, I think everybody gets what I would call like, because when I would watch film, I would always watch as a rule, general rule, no less than the last 3 games. Depending on where I was, and especially in the middle of the season, because that gives you the greatest trend as far as what they're doing. If you want to go, because teams change. But I don't think that teams are going to I don't think the Patriots are going to have an advantage because nobody knows what they're going to do. I think even last year, most defenses on Bill O'Brien, they played a ton of man And because once they realized that the receivers couldn't get open or the quarterback couldn't throw the ball, they said, why should we play zone? Let's just man them up, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Mm.
and that became a trend, later in the season that every team copied.
Mm. Obviously, new coach after 23 years or four, whatever it was. The Patriots have moved on from Bill Belichick. What do you think they're going to miss most from?
Ooh, good question. What are they going to miss most? Wow.
Mm.
Well, I can tell you what I miss most when I left. And then maybe this will give you an idea what they may miss most. And when you mean they, do you mean the players or do you mean
Yeah,
the
the
crafts?
collective of the team. Yeah, the
Yeah, I
players
think the
are going to
thing was
miss
like
most from that.
he was man, he was so good at this is why I think it's funny. Jerod talks about a lot of players need to know the why of things. I thought he was better than anybody at saying why, at explaining why they're doing this, why they're doing that. The first time I sat in that building in a team meeting, he went over a game plan and he told us what was going to happen. And most coaches just tell you what's going to happen and then they leave. Hey, they're going to do this and you can't do this. And next thing you know, Bill puts up like video evidence of why, and he gives you an explanation. He gives you evidence of why he's right, why you should trust him. Hey, you can't just do what you want to do. I'm telling you, they're going to do this. And so you have to do that. Here's why. Here's video. Here's what this team did. Hey, let's go back to 1975. Let's go now to 1992. That was, I've never been on a squad like that. That's what I would think they will miss the most. His like unbelievable level of attention to detail. It's second to none. I don't
Yeah.
know how they can match it.
Do you see him coaching again? And are you surprised he didn't land a job?
You know what? I am kind of surprised. There were 8 openings, and not one of them. Um, he was really only had a chance for one, and there'll be more because they're about average. There's about 6, openings per year. And it's funny, I was just looking at the odds of all the coaches on the hot seat, and there'll probably be 6 to 7 openings again. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get one of them. But I think he's real selective. Like he doesn't want a complete rebuild. Like even the reason why he was attracted to the Falcons is because he wanted a very talented yet underachieving team where
Mm.
he could roll in there and just put everything in order, give him more, leadership and better coaching. And this talented team that was underachieving will have a success.
Mm.
So I don't know. It's funny the way he's living his life. You would think that he has no desire to coach again.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, you get bored easily.
Yeah, we're talking about him and his new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Um,
I never thought I'd see Bill Belichick so many times in page 6.
I
It's
know
great.
he probably didn't either. That's the
Yeah.
last place he wants to be.
Yeah.
So who do you think? I mean, are you going to tune in to like Fox games to hear Tom? Are you
Oh,
going to tune in to
absolutely.
the Manning cast to hear Bill and wherever he turns up?
Yeah, I'm so curious just how his all his experiences and intellect, how it translates. Right? Is he so smart that he can't teach it? Because that's basically what he should be doing for me, the TV viewer. He's teaching me, he's explaining it to me. Is he so bright and such a savant that he can't teach it, right? I'm curious to see how that translates. I wouldn't bet against him, but I still have some doubts, and does he stumble out of the blocks? Or is he just a natural from the beginning?
Yeah. Well, they're both going to give viewers, that's for sure, at the start to see that very same thing. They're going to be tune in for a train wreck, or
Yeah.
they're going to tune in to actually get some insights and
Yeah.
understand what's
Yeah.
going
I think the things like if I was like just inventing some like betting props. I would invent how many cliches he uses. Uh, does he, what's his verbal crutch?
Mhm.
Is it, it's in any of those things. Like to me, I would take more of a silly approach to it, just knowing him the way that I do. And I think that would be more fun for me.
Last question. The Patriots have extended quite a few in-house people. They're trying to keep what they know or players they value around. Where do you come down on Matthew Judon's situation? And is there such thing as, obviously he's 32, but given the youth of the team, trying to have him stay at least another year, so he can kind of be a shepherd to the younger guys. Where do you sit? Where do you fall on Judon?
Well, he obviously wants an extension, more money. And I just wonder how Elliot Wolf and Jerod Mayo view the long-term path, and how much of that is Matthew Judon a part of?
Hmm.
Is he just a bridge player, a stopgap between stops, right? Because these are the lean years. And I would say, like, if I'm them, I would easily entertain a sign and trade. I would want to try to, get as many draft assets as possible, draft capital as possible. I just saw that Shaquille Barrett of the
Eric.
Dolphins. Did
Yeah,
I get that right?
tired. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, like if I'm Judon and if I'm the Dolphins and I know the Patriots, I know it's, they're in the same division, but I would entertain that. I would entertain that. And if I'm Judon, wow, I'm on a better team. Because if I am getting older, I don't know if I mean, the rebuild is fun and all. If I'm gonna go
Basic
through the
climate.
rebuild, yeah, I want to get paid and win at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I've heard Kansas City's been proposed to,
Yeah, any team I think is close. Not that it's like Von Miller. When Von Miller signed with the Buffalo Bills, everyone thought like that was a missing piece. It wasn't. So teams get desperate. They feel like the window is there, the opportunity is there. They feel like they're a guy away, and sometimes it works out. If I'm Judon, I would be massively open to that, like absolutely open to a new zip code. I know that he's saying that he wants to stay here. Everybody says that they want to stay with the team that they're at. They have to. But I would love the idea of playing on a team that has a chance to go to the playoffs.
yeah. Well, there was also some speculation about putting him in a deal for Ayuk. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it would be really cool to see them pull off some, high level trade, like multi-team trade. Let's see if they can pull it off. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean about like just paying attention to the year. Like all these things, Elliot Wolf may be a maverick. He may be this crazy like Danny Ainge type trader, it'll be fun to watch.
Mm. Well, I thank you for your time. It's always fun asking you questions as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah,
Oh,
everything's back in order. Yeah.
that was fun too. But will I see you out there? Will
We're gonna be out there on Wednesday. I told you we'll see you. I'll come say hello to you. Practice is gonna be. I'm curious to see how the whole environment at training camp is gonna be different. Access to players, what they say during that access, all that stuff.
Yeah, me too. All right.
All right, Karen. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Okay.